Hello, Mountaineer fans, and welcome to SVC Sports Weekly. I'm Mike Nosek alongside head baseball coach Dave Gage in this first installment of SVC Sports Weekly of the year 2013. Dave, good to be back. Good to be back on the program here and alongside you, and we've got a little bit to talk about here for basketball, bridging the gap for the semesters, and get right to it with women's basketball. Started off a little slow this year. They've had 3 games thus far, 2 games last week, and then a game against Daniel Webster last night as they resumed NECC play. They lost to Mass College, which is a very good, very experienced team last week. They started juniors and seniors, and we were starting kind of a younger team, and you could kind of see that show.
Yeah, the score was a little bit, MCLA sort of dominated a little bit, but like you said, it's back to, new semester, a little bit of time off. I know they only had 1 day of practice, 1 day of preparation. They had 2 weeks off prior to that, and the freshmen came out there, and it's, like you said, MCLA won by a score of 80-34. And when you only have a day or two to prepare, the juniors and seniors of a team are going to have the advantage, and MCLA definitely had that night.
Absolutely, and then they came back a few days later and hosted Pine Manor College and lost 80-67 in a very closely contested game. The Mountaineers had a few leads throughout that game, and it was more the final stretch where Pine Manor was able to get ahead and pull away. But Pine Manor's no slouch. They team from Boston, so they're playing a lot of our conference teams. They beat Newberry, who beat us here at home back in December. Pine Manor they lost to Bay Path in overtime by 1. They lost to Becker by 4, but they beat Leslie. So not a bad team by any stretch. And it seems that the women's team is on the verge, and they're about to find that final piece to the puzzle that just clicks and puts the whole game together in order to come away with those wins.
Yeah, I think, you hit it right. Is you look at what Pine Manor did against some of the teams in our conference, and, we didn't play bad against them. So it shows our women's basketball team isn't that far off. It was like you said, very close game. We had a couple leads throughout. So a couple breaks here or there, we play a little bit better. Same thing. You talk about, it was still at that point, it's only 3 days of preparation before. Maybe now that they start to get back into conference, a couple of those teams that you mentioned, maybe we get to compete with them and sneak into the playoffs, but they got to get things going here pretty soon because, it's time to go.
Absolutely. And, with those 2 games last week, Kayla McKenzie, a freshman here for the Mountaineers, haven't mentioned her name very much on this program. She received the New England Collegiate Conference Rookie of the Week honors. Pretty good week for her. And against Pine Manor, 19 points. Against MCLA, 12 points. She had double-digit rebounds in both of those matches, so double-doubles in both of those games, and actually she had a double-double against Green Mountain to finish the December game stretch. So she had 3 in a row, at the end of last week, and I believe she is now in the top of the conference when it comes to rebounds per game. Find the number here real quick for you. It's 9.2. She currently ranks 3rd. And that's pretty good as a freshman, come in and be able to stand tall, definitely get into her own. And against Pine Manor, they were working the ball down low to her a lot, and that really was effective. And that it might be something that you'll see more often with this team.
Yeah, talking about her player of the week, or rookie of the week, it just goes to show you how much potential this team has. And with being a group of freshmen, as we've talked about week in, week out, there is a lot of potential. 9 rebounds a game is very good, and you talk about the other couple players that we've mentioned on this program before of the women's basketball team, and there's a lot of good players. Now let's start putting it together. You got conference games left. You gotta get some wins to get into the playoffs, and I think, now they got a couple tough games here this week with Regis, who last year was one of the better teams, and again this year they are. And
top of the conference, yep.
Yeah, and Mitchell again. They're at Mitchell this weekend. Those are pretty tough games, but you got to play well. You got to get a win somewhere along the road.
Yep, and as I mentioned, went back to the NECC play last night when they visited Daniel Webster College. Fell short there, 74-40. Amber Flagg, freshman that we mentioned a lot here, scored 20 points. She's currently third in the conference with 16.4 per game. So you can kind of see her maturing very quickly and not being afraid to put the team on her back and say, all right, I'm going to start getting us going here, and really give them that boost when they need it. As you said, it just isn't quite enough, and they're almost there. Not quite, but you can see they're on the right path. And hopefully this week, against some good competition, they can really piece it together and use the positives from these past few games. That's one thing I thought after that Pine Manor game. Hopefully they don't get discouraged by the loss, and they can be encouraged by all the good things they do, and see positives will happen if we do A, B, and C. So again, hopefully they can carry that into tomorrow night's match against Regis College. That is here on the SVC campus at 6 p.m. If you are around the area, don't forget to stop by and catch that action.
Yeah, Mike, one more thing about the women's team is, this team reminds me a lot of the men's soccer team this fall. Whereas we talked numerous times about how well they would play, and they just wouldn't finish it out. And I think that's encouraging to our women's basketball team is they found a way to make the playoffs. And I think our women's team can do the same thing, is just find those couple wins to get into the playoffs. And hopefully they do that here in the second half of the season. Wish them the best of luck. But like you said, tomorrow night, Regis College, and hopefully that's where it all starts.
Absolutely. And after that Regis College game, the men will also host the Pride from Regis College. That game slated to start at 8 p.m. The men only had one game thus far since returning from the break. That was last night at Daniel Webster College. They fell on the losing end there, 87-72. So again, trying to still get that first win, and hopefully they're not getting discouraged with each other. They're actually on the gym, working hard right now, and that's one thing I see on the faces of this team. Obviously, they want to win, but it doesn't seem like they're getting down on themselves. They're not getting overly frustrated. They're still working hard and trying to find what they need to do in order to come away on the positive side of the scoreboard when that final buzzer sounds.
Yeah, this team has definitely worked hard. Like you said, it has not lost any type of encouragement, and they continue to work hard every day. And there are 3 conference games, last night against Daniel Webster, and we'll get to this in a minute. They did come up on the short end, but they played very, very well in the second half. And, a lot of positives. So, again, when is that first win going to come? I think once it comes, you're going to see number 2 quickly thereafter. So, this team does have a lot of positives. Again, very young. And the good thing is they're still working very hard.
Yeah, like you said, it's just the nature of the beast that once they get that one win, that could spark a momentum and really light a fire that they carry into game after game after game. Regis is about middle of the pack in the conference right now, so that's one that they can grab and then go over to Mitchell on Saturday and really get the ball rolling going into next week. As you mentioned, second half, they outscored Daniel Webster. It's just that the first half, they were outplayed so much that it wasn't enough, and they were dug a pretty deep hole for themselves that they weren't able to climb all the way out of, unfortunately. And that's, again, playing a full 80 minutes, putting everything together for a full game, still something that they're working on, and you got the feeling that it's coming soon.
Yeah, the one thing about this conference, and it doesn't matter what sport you talk about, you can't get in a hole. Every team is so similar throughout our sports in the NECC that you can't get down by 20 in a basketball game. You can't get down by 5, 6 in a baseball or softball game. So, again, like like we've mentioned, get that first win. It gets that stress off the shoulders, and the coaches will be a lot happier. I'm sure they'll start walking around the building, and the seniors of the team will, the upperclassmen will start saying, hey, now we got 1, let's go get 2. So I think it's coming. Just from, hearing the guys talk, it's definitely coming along, and I really hope it's tomorrow night when they host Regis.
The one thing that they might have going against them tomorrow night is that Regis just created that spark. They just picked up their first win last night, when they hosted Mitchell. They beat them 74-69. So now they kind of had that momentum going. Hopefully that isn't, so overwhelming for the Mountaineers that Regis comes up and carries that into tomorrow night. But hopefully, as we mentioned, we can come off with the winning side and get that momentum going into the Mitchell game and, come away with a couple wins this week and really get the ball rolling for the remainder of the year.
Absolutely.
A couple numbers to highlight from last night. Tayshawn Johnson scored 23. He's currently averaging 22.3 points per game this year and 9.1 rebounds. And Travis Severs scored his season-high 22 points. And I went back in the archives to figure out if that was a career high, and in fact a tied a career high, which he created last year at Daniel Webster College. We'll see how they respond. We'll see how they react to the loss tomorrow night when they host Regis College. Again, that's an 8 o'clock match. So we'd like to once again thank you for tuning in to SVC Sports Weekly. We hope to catch you next week. We hope you all had a great holiday season and a happy new year. And don't forget that tomorrow night, Thursday night, men's and women's basketball both hosting Regis College, women at 6, men at 8. And we'll catch you here on the campus of Southern Vermont College in the Mountaineer Athletic Center for those matchups. Go Mountaineers!